And I'm Samantha.
Today we will be telling you a little bit about the aftermath of the two atomic bombs dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan in 1945.
The topics we will be telling you about is the destructions that the bombs did, what happened to the population from right after the bomb until now, and some of the other major effects that the bombs had on Japan and the other parts of the world.
We will be giving you this information through a newscast on the 50th anniversary after the bombing.
We will both be playing news anchors. My name will be Valerie Stevens.
And I'll be Olivia Felix. Thank you for coming and we hope you enjoy. We will start our 50th anniversary with a short video clip of after the bomb. This video just shows like some of the devastation that the bomb had. Wow, wasn't that a tragedy? That was a really sad time.
I bet you were wondering where the bombs happened. The first bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan on August 6, 1945 at 8:15 a.m. The second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later on August 9, 1945.
This is a picture of one of the bombs that you can see. It was a very sad time, but it wasn't like President Truman had a choice. He had already warned them that they could expect a rain of ruin from the air, but Japan wouldn't surrender, so something had to be done.
Out of the 300 even though the bomb dropped on Nagasaki was bigger, it caused less damage because of the lay of the land. The bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki's nickname was Fat Man, and the bomb dropped on Hiroshima's nickname was Little Boy. Little Boy weighed about 9,700 pounds, and that was the smaller bomb.
The loss was very devastating. About 40,000 people died instantly, and around 60,000 were injured. There were around 200 doctors in Hiroshima before the explosion, and only about 20 were left capable alive or capable of working.
This is a chart that has all the numbers I'm about to say if you don't catch them. Out of the 350 residents of Hiroshima, about 130 of them were killed instantly or doomed to die from injuries or radiation received from the bombs. Hiroshima's population was about 83,000 after the bombing, and it rose to 169,000 in February 1946. Within 6 months, Hiroshima's population topped 70,000 and stood nearly at 150,000 after 5 years.
The bomb dropped on Nagasaki killed about 37,000 people. The survivor total in 1950 was around 300,000, and about 160,000 lived in Hiroshima, and about 125,000 lived in Nagasaki. 10 of these people had experienced both of the bombs.
Within 10 years, the populations were back to their total before the war. But because of the huge increase so fast, especially right after the war and the bomb, many more people died of starvation. A lot of people didn't have shelter, and a lot of people didn't have clean water to drink.
Radiation disease is also another thing that increased deaths after the war. Many people who survived the bombs died of radiation disease. Most people were connected to some sort of loss.
Most of the people in Hiroshima were around 1,500 feet of ground zero. 88% of those people were dead by the end of the day. Anything within a 1 kilometer radius was destroyed or killed. All but 12% of the city's homes were destroyed or damaged. And basically the whole built up part of Hiroshima was leveled by blast and swept by fire.
The exact number dead will never be known because of the confusion after the bomb. People unaccounted for might have been burned by recognition in the falling of buildings. They could have been disposed in one of the mass cremations in the first week after the bomb. They also could have been driven out somewhere to recover or just die.
With 150 researchers in the two cities, the foundation has been closely following the health of the survivors and their children since the 1950s. This is because they had radiation, and radiation has a very long-lasting effect. And they do this with funding from the U.S. and Japanese governments. Now we will be giving you some information about the destruction that the atomic bombs did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
The total area reduced to ashes by blast and fire was about 13 square kilometers in Hiroshima and about 6.7 square kilometers in Nagasaki. 91.1% of buildings in Hiroshima were damaged, and about 36.1% were damaged in Nagasaki.
The survivors suffered from a wide variety of physical complaints and symptoms. This is a chart I found on a website that has all the different complaints and symptoms, and then it has the percentages. As you can see, that was a lot of people. Survivors were suffering from repeated vomiting and internal bleeding. Many were also blackened with burns, and people were bleeding from wounds, and a lot of people were also buried beneath all the rubble.
Some long-lasting effects are leukemia is commonly thought to be one of the main legacies of the bomb. Exposure to radiation increased long-term risk of cancer. It can create tumors affecting the stomach, colon, breasts, and lungs. Studies have shown that children in the womb, while exposed to radiation, grow up smaller and less intelligent than their peers if they were already born or if they were born after the bomb.
Now I will be telling you a little bit about when Japan finally surrendered. The Japanese would not surrender before the bomb. President Truman had threatened them if the Japanese did not surrender and accept the Potsdam Declaration terms and offer unconditional surrender, more bombs would be dropped.
After the bombs were dropped, they finally surrendered. On August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered unconditionally to the U.S. and all of its allies. Another surrendering date was September 2nd, 1945, which led closer to the end of World War II.
I will be telling you about where Japan is now in terms of if they're built back up. So this is a picture of Hiroshima, Japan. This was recently taken. As you can see, they have recovered really well. In 20 years, the country was again a major industrial and commercial power. They provide goods like automobiles and electrical products. They also are a good place for importing and exporting goods because they have beaches that are good for all the boats to park along.
Does the U.S. regret dropping the bombs? The decision to use the atomic bombs is still being debated. It was one of the most controversial decisions that was made in the U.S. foreign policy. And this picture just kind of relates to that because it's just how devastating and how the lives were changed.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.
We hope you learned more about the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan in 1945. 1945.
We talked to you about the destructions that the bombs did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We also talked to you about what happened to the people and the population from right after the bomb until now. And we also told you some of the other major effects that the bombs had on Japan.
Our topic was a really big part of World War II because it led closer to the end and it made Japan surrender unconditionally to the U.S.
Thank you again for listening.
Are there any questions?